Let me begin with a contradiction so stark it could serve as the opening line of a Gogol's short story. Putin, in his thundering denunciation of Ukrainian terrorism, inadvertently admits a truth that he cannot contain. In declaring that Ukraine is responsible for drone strikes, railway sabotage, and deep incursions into Russian territory, he also acknowledges, though he dare not say it aloud, that there are people within Russia itself willing to aid and abet these actions. His own citizens are, in short, increasingly sympathetic to Ukraine. How could they not be? How could they not be when so many Russian families have Ukrainian relatives to start with, and when they look at the Kremlin and the absurd Kremlin propaganda and they realize that Russia is on the wrong side of history? Putin would have us believe that Russia is united, that its 140 million citizens stand shoulder to shoulder with their leader in what he insists is a defensive operation to protect Russian interests from NATO expansion and Nazi ghosts. But the truth is this: most Russian families do not believe him. Many have Ukrainian cousins, grandmothers, old school friends, and they hear that Russia is bombing cities like Kharkiv or killing a 1-year-old child in Pryluki. They don't all respond with patriotic cheers. They respond increasingly with shame and with quiet despair, and they want the war to end. The lie of a unified Russia is crumbling because it always was built on a house of sand. The lie that this is a special military operation is confounded by the body bags, by the numbers of young men who are dying in trenches. Putin says he wants peace. His diplomats attend summits in Istanbul and release breathless statements about ceasefire roadmaps. But even as those words are spoken, bombs are falling on Kyiv, on Chernihiv, on Kharkiv, and civilians are dying while peace is declared in marble halls. It's as if the Kremlin thinks we're blind. This isn't diplomacy, it's duplicity. A ceasefire with missile punctuation, a handshake that ends in a punch. Putin's so-called peace memorandum requires Ukraine to surrender 4 occupied regions, demobilize and forswear NATO forever, all while Russia continues its own build-up and keeps abducted children in custody. These are not peace terms, these are terms of capitulation. Russia wants to control everything east of the Dnipro. Then there's the most absurd fiction of all, that Russia is winning. If we listened only to Kremlin television, we would hear tales of triumphant advances in Donbass, of heroic liberation of border villages, of the 1,000 Ukrainian casualties last night in a single night. But strangely, there's no footage, no verification, no independent evidence of this nonsense. Just numbers plucked from the air like ration coupons during a Soviet shortage. The real figures tell a different story. Since 2024, Russia has suffered over 400,000 casualties. In May 2025 alone, it lost dozens of strategic bombers during Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb, a drone strike campaign of extraordinary precision that exposed the vulnerability of Russia's military infrastructure. Some analysts say nearly a third of Russia's bomber fleet was destroyed or damaged. That's not winning a war machine. That's a Potemkin Air Force. And yet Putin's lies continue, even as his own state apparatus begins to fail him. His economic miracle, propped up by war spending and dwindling sovereign wealth funds, is faltering. Inflation is biting, interest rates are sky high, and even the prices of cucumbers and onions are now political liabilities, along with butter. Smear a butter on your computer. Smear butter on your cucumber, Mr. Putin. You put that in your smeg fridge. Meanwhile, resistance is growing from within. Railway sabotage in Bryansk and Kursk. Explosions targeting Iskander missile sites this morning. Saboteurs operating with insider knowledge. These are not acts of foreign agents parachuting into Russia like Cold War pulp fiction. These are actions of Russians who have had enough. And Putin insists the war is external, that it's Russia against NATO, Russia against the West. But his greatest threat lies within, not in Washington, not in Warsaw, but in Voronezh, in Belgorod, in Tambov. These are the front lines of a creeping domestic disobedience. And why? Because his promises of swift victory, of rising prosperity, of glory reborn have failed. Instead, there are funeral notices, body bags, and mothers weeping into closed coffins. Propaganda, like scaffolding, only works as long as you are still building. Once the façade is exposed, the scaffolding collapses, and Putin has lied. about peace, lied, about victory, lied, about unity, and each lie comes at a cost not only abroad but at home. Russia's young men are vanishing into the meat grinder of the Donbass. Its economy is creaking, its technological edge is blunted by drones built with parts smuggled in vans, and the Russian people, long patient, long silent, are no longer so certain that this is the right thing to do, that they are on the right side of history, because they know they are not. In the end, it may not be Ukraine that undoes Putin, it will be the very people that he claims to protect. As Solzhenitsyn once warned, the simple step of a courageous individual is not to take part in the lie, and perhaps that step has finally begun after weeks, hours, years of television propaganda, hour by hour, relentlessly. People are switching off, and people are right to do so.